You didn't see the hoarders rushing in grocery stores, but these 7 foods are disappearing shelf by shelf right now. From critical shortages in wheat and cooking oil to hidden risks behind canned goods, June 2025 is the month where preparing quietly might just save you from panic later. Subscribe now, hit the bell, and stay one step ahead of the chaos. Quickly establish context. Global crop disruptions, inflation, geopolitical pressures, and weather anomalies are tightening food supply chains. These 7 staples are already under strain, and preppers are acting now, quietly filling pantries and freezers before mainstream panic sets in. Number 1. Wheat and baking flour. When it comes to survival, wheat is one of the most foundational foods on the planet, and smart preppers know it. That's why they're quietly filling their pantries with bags of flour and wheat berries this June. As of mid-2025, global wheat production is under pressure from multiple fronts. The war in Ukraine, once the world's breadbasket, continues to limit exports. Meanwhile, extreme heat and drought in parts of the US Midwest and Canada have cut North American yields by nearly 15%, according to the USDA. The ripple effects are already visible. Flour mills are reporting limited supply runs, while grocery stores in several U.S. regions are placing limits on bulk flour purchases. Prices for unbleached all-purpose flour have risen by over 20% compared to the same time last year. And it's not just about baking cookies. Wheat is the base for pasta, bread, tortillas, crackers, and more. When wheat stocks tighten, processed food prices follow. So how can you prepare? First, buy unbleached all-purpose or bread flour in bulk. 10 to 25 lb bags are best. Store them in food-grade buckets or airtight containers with oxygen absorbers to extend shelf life to a year or more. Second, consider stocking whole wheat berries. When stored properly in sealed mylar bags, they can last up to 25 years. All you need is a hand or electric grain mill to turn them into fresh flour when needed. Third, add baking essentials to your stash. Yeast, salt, baking soda, and powdered milk. Having flour is great, but only if you can actually bake with it. Bottom line, wheat shortages don't make headlines until prices spike, but by then, it's too late. That's why experienced preppers are making quiet moves now, before the rush hits the shelves. Number 2, pasta and instant noodles. They're cheap, shelf-stable, and filling, which makes pasta and instant noodles one of the first things smart preppers are stockpiling this June. As of mid-2025, pasta production is facing quiet but serious challenges. Global wheat shortages, driven by climate stress in North America and export constraints from Eastern Europe, have caused durum wheat prices to surge by over 25% year over year, according to the International Grains Council. Durum is the key ingredient in semolina flour, the base of most dry pasta. At the same time, energy costs have pushed up the price of manufacturing and packaging. Many factories in Europe and Asia that produce affordable bulk noodles and pasta are scaling back output or prioritizing domestic markets. This has created a noticeable drop in exports, especially of low-cost instant noodles and store-brand pasta products. U.S. grocery chains are already reporting tighter inventory. Bulk pasta options like spaghetti, penne, and elbow macaroni are seeing smaller shipments and rising prices, particularly in warehouse clubs and discount stores. Instant noodle cups, once plentiful, are now being rationed in some regions, especially those imported from South Korea and Southeast Asia. Why does this matter for your pantry? Pasta and instant noodles offer long shelf lives, easy prep, and high caloric return. They're perfect for stretching out meals, combining with sauces, or using in soups. And they store compactly, making them ideal for limited space. Here's how to prepare. First, buy in bulk. Look for multi-pound bags of dry pasta and sealed packs of instant noodles. Prioritize plain pasta varieties. They're more versatile. Second, store in airtight containers or mylar bags to prevent moisture and pest damage. Add oxygen absorbers for long-term security. Third, stock sauces and flavor packets separately. Instant flavor packets are convenient but expire quicker. Bottom line, pasta and noodles are more than comfort food. They're strategic staples. And while they're still affordable, the supply is thinning. Stock up now before inflation or empty shelves hit your meal plans. Number 3, oats and rolled grains. When it comes to long-lasting, nutrient-dense, and budget-friendly food, oats and rolled grains are quietly becoming top-tier prepper picks, and for good reason. In June 2025, smart stockpilers are loading up on these overlooked essentials before they vanish from bulk bins and store shelves. Why oats? They're shelf-stable, require minimal cooking, and offer complex carbs, fiber, and protein, all with a long storage life. But beyond nutrition, there's a looming supply problem. Drought conditions in Canada, the world's number 2 exporter of oats, have reduced output by over 30% this year, according to the Canadian Grain Commission. Meanwhile, in the U.S., northern states like North Dakota and Minnesota are experiencing Erratic weather patterns reducing planting and harvesting schedules for oats and barley. What does this mean for the consumer? Bulk oats, steel-cut oats, and rolled grains are already showing limited availability in warehouse stores and online retailers. Prices have crept up gradually, between 12% and 18% year over year, but as demand increases and stock narrows, larger jumps are expected by late summer. And it's not just oatmeal. Oats are used in granola, baked goods, protein bars, meat extenders, and even non-dairy milks. When raw supply tightens, the ripple hits across multiple food categories. So how should you prepare? First, buy in bulk. Look for 10 to 25 lb bags of oats, steel-cut, rolled, or quick, especially in resealable or vacuum-sealed packaging. If you can't find large bags, buy multiple small containers before they disappear. Second, store smart. Use food-grade buckets with mylar liners and oxygen absorbers. Properly sealed oats can last up to 10-15 years in a cool, dry environment. Third, consider rolled barley, rye flakes, or quinoa flakes as backups. They store similarly and offer dietary variety. And don't forget the add-ons: dried fruits, powdered milk, cinnamon, or honey. These help turn your oats from survival rations into actual meals. Bottom line, oats may seem simple, but they're disappearing for a reason. If you wait too long, you may be left with nothing but empty shelves where your breakfast used to be. Number 4, shelf-stable cheese. Powdered, canned, or waxed. Cheese isn't just comfort food. It's protein, calories, and morale packed into one bite. But in 2025, with rising dairy costs and supply chain fragility, smart preppers are turning to shelf-stable cheese as a quiet but powerful food reserve. As of June 2025, traditional dairy prices have surged over 22% year over year, driven by elevated feed costs, global shipping issues, and unpredictable weather affecting milk production in the US and Europe. Meanwhile, cold chain logistics needed to move perishable items like cheese are becoming less reliable due to fuel hikes and trucker shortages. That's where shelf-stable cheese comes in. Options like powdered cheese, canned cheddar, and wax-sealed hard cheese blocks are flying off shelves in specialty prepper stores and bulk food suppliers. Powdered cheese, used for sauces and baking, can last 10-15 years when stored in sealed containers. Canned cheese varieties have a shelf life of 5 to 10 years, and waxed cheeses like aged cheddar or Gouda can last up to 25 years if stored in a cool, dark place. Even mainstream retailers are seeing inventory drop. Online listings for canned cheese. Products are already showing 2 to 4 week delays, and powdered cheese in bulk packaging is selling out at warehouse stores. So how should you prepare? First, grab what fits your cooking style. Powdered cheese is great for mac and cheese, sauces, and dry mixes. Canned cheese spreads well, adds flavor, and is ideal for sandwiches or crackers. Waxed cheese offers the most natural texture and long-term value. Second, store it right. Keep products in a cool, dry location, away from light and fluctuating temperatures to preserve quality. Bottom line, cheese might not seem like a survival staple until it's gone, and once it vanishes, it'll be months or years before stable supply returns. Act now, while it's still on the shelf. Number 5, canned fruits and shelf-stable fruit cups. While most people rush to grab rice or beans during a shortage, smart preppers know that fruit is one of the first things to disappear, and one of the hardest to replace when fresh supply chains break down. As of June 2025, canned fruits and shelf-stable fruit cups are becoming increasingly scarce. The problem starts at the orchard. Severe weather in California, Chile, and parts of China, 3 major fruit exporters, has reduced harvests of peaches, pears, pineapples, and apples. In California alone, drought conditions have cut stone fruit yields by over 28%, according to the USDA. But the real choke point is packaging. Aluminum shortages and rising costs for tin and steel are creating major delays in canned goods production. Multiple food brands have reported difficulty sourcing enough cans for existing inventory, let alone scaling up supply. The result? Fewer canned fruit products on shelves, smaller package sizes, and rising prices. At the same time, school lunch programs and bulk food aid organizations are buying up large volumes of shelf-stable fruit cups, which further tightens consumer availability. In many regions, multi-packs of applesauce, diced peaches, and mixed fruit cups are already back-ordered online or limited to 1 per customer. Why stock up now? Fruits provide essential vitamins, fiber, and natural sugars that are hard to replicate from other prep foods. They boost morale, aid digestion, and balance out high-carb survival diets. In a crisis, they're more than a snack, they're nutritional insurance. Here's how to prepare. First, buy a mix of canned and cup-style fruits. Choose varieties packed in juice or light syrup for better taste and versatility. Second, rotate your supply every 12-18 months. Most canned fruits last 2 to 3 years unopened if stored in a cool, dry place. Third, don't forget dried fruit. As a backup, raisins, mango, apricots, and banana chips have long shelf lives and store compactly. Bottom line, canned fruit may not be top of mind, but when your body needs real nutrients in a long-haul emergency, you'll wish you had it. Stock up now while it's still affordable and available. Number 6, shelf-stable soups and ready-to-eat meals. When time, energy, and cooking resources are limited, shelf-stable soups and ready-to-eat meals become absolute lifesavers. That's why smart preppers are loading up now, because supply disruptions and ingredient shortages are quietly squeezing this category. As of June 2025, canned soups and heat-and-eat meals are under strain from multiple fronts. First, there's the issue of ingredient inflation. Key staples like chicken, beef, tomatoes, and potatoes have all seen sharp price increases due to droughts, disease outbreaks, and rising feed costs. Food producers are responding by cutting production lines, trimming variety, or shrinking portion sizes, known in the industry as shrinkflation. Second, the packaging bottleneck continues. Aluminum shortages and increased tariffs on imported tinplate steel are delaying manufacturing of soup cans and microwavable containers. According to a recent report from the Consumer Brands Association, ready-to-eat meal inventory levels have dropped by up to 20% compared to this time last year. Third, demand is rising. With economic uncertainty and natural disasters on the rise, both households and emergency services are quietly buying more shelf-stable food than usual. FEMA and local food banks have increased bulk purchases, creating added stress on already thin inventory. So what exactly should you stock? Focus on high-calorie, complete meals, like beef stew, chili, lentil soup, and chicken noodle. These offer protein, fiber, and fats that can fuel you through physically demanding or high-stress days. Also consider ethnic ready meals like Indian curries, rice dishes, and vegetarian stews, many of which are sold in vacuum-sealed pouches with shelf lives of up to 5 years. Don't overlook microwavable or boil-in-bag entrees, especially those packed in BPA-free trays or retort pouches. They store compactly and heat quickly, even with limited fuel or power. Storage tips: keep these in a cool, dark place and watch expiration dates. Rotate your stock every 6 to 12 months to ensure freshness, and test a few brands now to learn which ones you'll actually eat under stress. Bottom line, shelf-stable meals are the backup plan when everything else goes wrong. They require no prep, no refrigeration, and no guesswork. And once they're gone from shelves, restocks won't happen overnight. Stock up now, before demand overtakes supply. Number 7, baking essentials: yeast, baking powder, salt, sugar. You can have all the flour in the world, but without the right baking essentials, you're not making bread, biscuits, or much else. That's why experienced preppers are quietly securing yeast, baking powder, salt, and sugar before shelves thin out. As of June 2025, subtle shortages are creeping back into baking aisles. Rising global sugar prices, triggered by lower output in Brazil and India, two of the world's top producers, have pushed U.S. sugar costs up by over 30% year over year. Meanwhile, supply disruptions in chemical leavening agents like baking powder and baking soda, many of which rely on ingredients from China, are causing spotty availability in warehouse clubs and discount chains. Yeast is another concern. Commercial. Producers are prioritizing large-scale industrial clients, leaving fewer packets and jars for everyday consumers. During past disruptions, yeast was among the first items to vanish, and history may be repeating itself. Why do these matter? These ingredients are the foundation of comfort foods and practical cooking. Bread, pancakes, muffins, tortillas, cakes, even basic sauces require at least one or more of these items. Without them, flour loses much of its utility, especially in long-term emergencies. Here's how to prep smart. First, buy active dry yeast or instant yeast in vacuum-sealed bricks or jars. Stored in the freezer, it can last 2 to 3 years without losing potency. Second, pick up extra baking powder, baking soda, salt, and sugar. Sugar and salt are virtually immortal when stored properly, while baking powder is best rotated every 12-18 months. Third, consider shelf-stable alternatives like sourdough starters for yeast, or cream of tartar mixes for baking powder substitutes. Bottom line, it's not just about calories, it's about cooking flexibility. Stocking these small ingredients gives you the ability to turn basic supplies into real meals. Miss them, and your pantry loses power fast. Number 8. Instant coffee and tea bags in a crisis. Caffeine isn't a luxury, it's a survival tool. Whether it's staying alert, maintaining routine, or just holding on to a sense of normalcy, instant coffee and tea bags are high-value items in any prepper's stash. and smart stockpilers are grabbing them now, before shortages hit hard. As of June 2025, coffee production is struggling on multiple fronts. Brazil, the world's top coffee exporter, is battling ongoing drought and heat stress, cutting Arabica yields by over 15% this year, according to the International Coffee Organization. Meanwhile, rising fuel and export costs have made it harder for coffee and tea shipments to reach North America on time. Instant coffee, which relies on bulk roasted beans and spray drying facilities, is particularly vulnerable. Major brands are already reporting delays and reduced stock in warehouse. Clubs and online retailers. At the same time, demand for shelf-stable caffeine options is up, both among consumers and emergency relief organizations. Tea is also feeling the pinch. Weather disruptions in India and Sri Lanka, two major exporters, have led to smaller harvests and reduced exports. Black tea and green tea bag options are getting thinner on store shelves, and prices have crept up quietly across both grocery chains and online outlets. So how should you prepare? First, stock up on sealed jars or pouches of instant coffee. They're light, compact, and last up to 10-20 years unopened. Vacuum-sealed single-serve packs are even better for rationing. Second, grab a variety of tea bags, black, green, herbal, and medicinal blends. Store them in airtight tins or mylar bags with oxygen absorbers for maximum shelf life. Bottom line, a hot cup of coffee or tea can lift spirits and sharpen focus when times get tough. It's a small comfort with a big psychological impact. And once the shelves go bare, you'll wish you had just one more box. These aren't luxury items, they're lifelines. From oats and shelf-stable cheese to instant coffee and baking basics, the food smart preppers are stockpiling this June aren't chosen at random. They're based on rising shortages, inflation, and supply chain cracks that most people still aren't paying attention to. Waiting until shelves are empty means paying more or going without. Take inventory today. Build out your pantry with strategy, not panic. Focus on foods that offer nutrition, shelf life, and versatility, and don't forget morale boosters, like tea or canned fruit that keep spirits up when times get hard. If this guide helped you prepare smarter, hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. We break down market trends, shortage alerts, and prepper strategies every single week. Stay aware, stay ready, and we'll see you in the next video.